Welcome to Brave New Bookshelf, a podcast that explores the fascinating intersection of AI and authorship. Join hosts Steph Pajonas and Danica Favorite as they dive into thought-provoking discussions, debunk myths, and highlight the transformative role of AI in the publishing industry.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Brave New Bookshelf. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steph Pajonas, CTO of Future Fiction Academy and Future Fiction Press, where we teach authors how to use AI in any part of their process, and we're publishing AI-forward books on the press. That is also a very exciting thing that's going on. We're working hard on more books to go on the actual press's website. We're going to make that our first place that we publish books that we're writing. And then we're also going to be selling books direct via Curios, which Elizabeth Ann West has talked about on our FFA YouTube channel a few times. I will link to that right in the show notes so that you guys can go find it there. So what we're doing is we're publishing first on the website, and then we're pushing out to Amazon and wide stores from there. Trying to get people to come and do the website experience instead. It's a little bit of a retro thing. We're hearkening back to the 2010s here. I know that just made me feel really old. I don't even know why. It wasn't that long ago. But we're having a lot of fun doing all of the planning for that. And as per usual, I will stop chatting now and I will hand over to my lovely co-host, Danica Favorite. Danica's doing great in Denver, Colorado, where you guys are not getting the snow that we're getting here on the East Coast.
Yes, that is correct. So, funny story, it is currently 67 degrees in Denver, Colorado. Dana Sacco, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, was just complaining this morning that it's like in the 30s in Florida. And I'm like, haha, but also not really, because come summer, as I think I've said this before, Denver is going to be a sad place. We are in such a drought, record low snowpack. So even though I'm loving the beautiful weather, really pray for us because it's bad. It's bad. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Danica Favorite. I am the community manager at Publish Drive, where we help authors on every stage of their journey, from getting your manuscript formatted to doing your book description, your metadata, AI covers, and then to distributing your book to the widest possible audience. And we have some built-in promotion tools, as well as once that book starts selling and you have people you need to split royalties with, we also have a royalty splitting tool. So lots of things in Publish Drive, and we also have some exciting things with Publish Drive happening. Most of you, if you're on the Publish Drive mailing list, already know this, but for the rest of you, we have just released our market report. I am super excited about this because I've been begging our company to do this for a few years now. We're finally doing it. We took all of our sales data across the board and compiled it into one big report. So in this market report is what is selling, where it's selling, and really cool stuff because it's actual sales data. We didn't do anything other than what are our numbers for this store? What are our numbers for this genre? And so this is based on our actual numbers, and really, really excited to be able to share that, because when people look at this market report to start looking at what's actually selling, here it is. So if you haven't gotten it already, go to publishdrive.com. It'll be there. Put in your email, boom, you'll get the Publish Drive market report right there.
I'm thinking maybe it might be fun to pop that into Claude and see what it thinks. Maybe give me some ideas for possible genres to write in, those sorts of things. I'm excited to see what it will bring about. It's in my inbox right now. I saw it this morning, so I'm excited to play with it.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm super excited because I've been telling our team we need to do this, we need to do this. And of course, we want to be careful since there's proprietary data. So sorting through all that, and we finally did it, and we're going to make this a regular thing. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, I think I'm writing a blog post for Publish Drive about it as well. Just my analysis of what's in there. Really cool information that I think will help a lot of people. So today, it's really funny that when we're talking to Cassie right before we got on, we were joking around about, oh yeah, and Danica, I've got a little time for a little rant. And they don't know this, but I was planning on one. And then when we were talking to Cassie, I'm like, oh my goodness, my rant actually relates to our guest. Uh, because the other day I was at a tea ceremony. It was wonderful. And then we started chit-chatting afterwards about AI. And one of the women there, actually, there were two women there who are in healthcare and they're nurses. And one of them was saying that she just came back from this aging symposium because she works with the elderly. And they were getting feedback from the nurses on how to create a robot caregiver for the elderly. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Also, a little terrifying because, like, I will have a robot taking care of me when I'm elderly.
I believe I'm
And
just going to jump in here. I believe that they're already pioneering some of this in Japan because of their high amount of elderly population. Like their elderly population is so huge that they need actual extra help, and they've been pioneering some of these robots and like other systems to help with the elderly in Japan.
yeah, and that was one of the things they were saying, that America is actually going to be in a similar position. And so I thought it was super cool that they were having nurses give feedback on how these robots could best be utilized. And she was even talking about how they were saying, we're going to do the robots on two legs. And she says, no, 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 no. With an elderly person, you actually want it on a more stable base and something that the elderly person could actually sit on, like the little scooter things. And the developer was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, and was taking all these notes about it. And the reason I'm saying that, because obviously we're AI for authors, and so we don't talk about healthcare or anything, but it just goes to show AI is in every industry and it's just getting more and more. And I know there are some authors who have made some really nasty remarks online about how they don't like being told it's inevitable and how dare we shove it down their throat. Number one, I don't care if you use AI or not. But number two, it really is inevitable. And we are here and we do this podcast because we are shaping how we want the writing industry, the publishing industry to use AI, and teaching authors how to use it now before it is forced upon us. Because just like with the nurses, they were giving direct feedback on what would be most helpful in a robot to help an elderly person. That's what we're doing here. And so, how this ties into our wonderful guest, Cassie is also a nurse. And it'll be super interesting. Just, I was like, wow, what a coincidence, because I hadn't realized that when I was planning on talking about this. But also, Cassie is one of the authors who is pioneering AI and saying, hey, I see that it's coming. I don't want to be one of those people who says no and fights it, but okay, how can I help shape AI and the future of AI and publishing to give authors and publishers the most benefit? And how can I use it to make a difference in the writing world as opposed to fighting it or complaining or whatever? It's no, I am an author, I'm a successful author, and I want to use it to my best advantage for my career. And so, with that, I want to hand this over to our guest, Cassie Alexander. Cassie, tell us about yourself. We know you're a nurse and an author, but let's get some more details on you.
Yeah, so actually, that is pretty much who I am. It's just those two things. I don't have time for anything else right now. All of my other hobbies are like in the distant past now. My favorite hobby is coding. So, yeah, I have been writing since 1998. I wasn't always successful. I wrote, this is back in like the trad pub days where like, and this is before electronic submissions and stuff. You had to print off your whole book and mail it in and pray, that sort of thing. And everything took forever. And as part of that system, and I actually had my first books were traditionally published by St. Martin's in 2012, 2013. And so I actually witnessed the self-publishing wars when they happened. So I have a bigger context window, which to use an AI term for like the history of publishing and stuff, than a lot of the people who are angry at me or you guys, basically, because I remember the self-publishing wars and I was on the wrong side of that. I was so mean because I had so much emotionally invested in doing things the traditional publishing way that everybody else who like leaped ahead, it seemed like they were cheating somehow. And I believed all that, oh, it's all going to be low quality and stuff, things that we know today to be the opposite of true. And so then I kind of dog paddled around once that series got canceled. And I did some self-publishing myself. And then it wasn't until a friend of mine wanted to Voltron together to write some Dragon Shifter romance. I'd never written romance before. I came from a hard science fiction and fantasy background, although my books that published back in the day were urban fantasy, but I had never written like something like guaranteed HEA true romance, that definition. And then my friend was all like, hey, I like to market, you like to write, let's Voltron together and do something. So we started to work on that in 2019. And unfortunately, like our first book in that series came out like March 2020. So that was when shit started hitting the fan for the entire world. Actually, and that book's gone on to do well, but it was just like a really painful synchronicity that like I got to be a COVID nurse. And so that really reframed a lot of my expectations of myself and also of the industry in general, because I went to RAM virtually that year or the next year. I think it was that year. I'm not entirely sure which one, but I realized, oh, there are women here who are making substantial amounts of money, so that is possible. All I need to know is that somebody can do something and then I can figure out how to do it. I just need to know what the ceiling is. If the ceiling makes it worth doing, I can figure shit out. And up until that point, I was like, writing's fun, blah, 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 but I could just work some overtime shifts. And I did love writing, but my heart had been so battered by the whole trad pub experience and that I wasn't really ready to jump firmly onto writing island. But then being a COVID ICU nurse, I was like, oh, I really don't want to be a nurse anymore. This fucking sucks. And so I jumped wholeheartedly into writing, and I've taken off since then because I just focused all of my attention on making that work out for me and using all the tools at my disposal, which is relevant to our conversation here. I looked back the other day to prove like how old school I was. My Midjourney account is from August of 2022. I was like one of the first on the train. And then I'm sure you ladies too, like in December of 2023, January 2023 is when we started getting told we were the devil. And I was just like, whoa, you got to slow your roll. I was a COVID ICU nurse. We could not get people to save their own lives during COVID, which is arguably a much lower bar than stopping AI from happening. And I was just like, yeah, so you guys, you may be yelling about this, but there's no way you can yell it into submission. We couldn't yell at people to save their own lives. There's no way you're going to be able to stop AI. So that's when I was just like, all right, let's see how I can make this work for me. And then also too, I had different experiences with it because I came at it originally from the whole graphic realm because I wanted to make material to market my stuff. And I was like, you can't find a heavier woman on deposit photos for love or money. You can't find, like, I had a tiger shifter who was a billionaire, and you can't find a hot Indian guy in a suit who isn't in front of a PowerPoint. So these were things that kind of formed my opinion of the utility of AI and how I was going to use it moving forward to give myself opportunities, and then also to have the opportunity to showcase different viewpoints that I wouldn't have been able to market really otherwise. Sorry, that's a lot of talking. I've given all this a lot of thought though.
I love it. I love that you gave it so much thought. And until you said, and this is so cool, this is why we have a nurse, right? Saying that parallel between you couldn't get people to save their own lives during COVID, and now here we are with AI coming into every aspect of our lives. And, we're like, hey, would you like to wear a mask? No. Okay, cool. That's fine. So I think that's really great. You gave me a new analogy to use about AI, which I think is super, super cool. Steph and I were both around during that time of publishing. And initially, when I came into publishing, I said a very similar thing with AI. I was also kind of on the wrong side of indie publishing because I was on the board of writing groups where we were creating our self-publishing policy and what qualifies a self-published author as a real author. And I know that the intention was pure. Like I really just thought, again, the same thing. Oh, low quality books, it's going to ruin publishing. And let's be honest, some of those early covers were absolutely terrible. But now looking back, I really wish I had jumped on the bandwagon back then to do indie publishing. I mean, I like there's my trad books right there. No regrets about those books or anything, but I certainly would have a lot more money in my bank account if I had jumped on indie at the time. And I didn't, and that's okay. this time I want to be on the right side of publishing history.
Well, and the thing is, too, is you learn from that experience, right? Because I think all of us have probably learned from AI that pivoting is the name of the game. And the faster you can pivot, the better off you're going to be. Whether that's to like try out a new model or listen to somebody else's idea about how to make things work. And yeah, I have so many thoughts about all this. I'm allowed to ramble, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
we give you a framework, but really this is about sharing those different opinions, because
Yeah.
the more opinions we can share, the more people understand that there is no one right way to do
Yeah.
AI in publishing.
Yeah. So really one of the beauties of the things is like humans have, as we all know, because we are human, an incredible amount of inertia and we have change fatigue, right? You can only tell a human so many times, redo this chapter, or please look at my change to this chapter, or I need to brainstorm with you, but that means I need to tell you all of your ideas are wrong until I come up with the right one on my own. And so, yeah, so I think my experiences with using AI in that way has made me realize just how fast you need to iterate sometimes to get through to what's actually worth pursuing. And that's just an experience that you wouldn't be able to have as like a human moving just amongst other humans for like human entrepreneurship, just because you have finite time on this earth and time equals money. But with an AI, you can pivot like on a dime and then on a dime and then on a dime until you finally like figure out the angle that's going to work best for you for whatever the application is.
That can sometimes be exhausting too. Like
Yeah.
I run into that problem sometimes. I'm just like, I'm iterating and iterating. And by the time I've reached 4 or 5 times, I'm like, I don't want to look at this anymore. I don't want to make any more decisions. I'm done. I get major decision fatigue when it comes to AI. So sometimes I will get a response from it and I let it sit there for a little bit. And I don't even read it. I just know that it's there. I can go look at it when I'm ready, take a couple moments, and then I'll try to go through it just chunk at a time, just a little chunk at a time until I can get through it. Like there's only so fast a human can go,
Yeah.
even with all of this help. Like it is a bit of a balance act.
Yeah, but I like the experimental piece as well, because like you were talking about, Cassie, with the entrepreneurs and having to experiment and pivot and try new things. What's great about AI is so many of these tools are free. The ones that aren't are fairly low cost, definitely low cost in comparison to what it takes to have a traditional business. So, one of the good things about publishing is that it's a low cost to entry. Anyone can be an author entrepreneur. Although sometimes I think the bad thing about that is that there's such a low cost to entry that people don't understand that if you were in a traditional business, that a traditional business is going to invest thousands upon thousands of dollars before becoming profitable. And that isn't necessarily the case in publishing. I like that it's broadening this opportunity. So when you started looking at AI in publishing, what was your approach to saying, okay, I'm going to look at this AI thing and how am I approaching this?
Yeah, so when I decided to actively take flack for it, I don't know if you guys are familiar. Well, I'll give the whole thing because there's going to be listeners who aren't. But Dr. Jennifer Lynn Barnes gave this talk at RWA in 2018. I don't know if you can still get it online or not. If you can't, though, she's got some YouTube videos up about her TED Talks that deal with the same topic. She is like a professor who studies like parasocial psychology, but she also is the author of The Inheritance Games, which is a wildly popular book that I think they are in the process of turning into a TV show right now. And this talk that she gave was called Writing the Id. And the whole point of it is that there's these 5 commonalities that all humans love and that we're drawn to time and time again, and that you should keep track of how you like them. And it's like touch, competition, wealth, beauty, and danger. So if you think about it, one of her examples that has always stuck with me is Game of Thrones is literally like competition of wealth. And so those are the elements that across all of humanity that we are always interested in. Oh, I think one of them is touch as well. I think maybe I doubled up on one of them. But you like to see humans touch each other too, in fiction and on TVs and stuff. Her point with that was that when you are writing your first book, you very often just tend to put everything you like in it. And then your second book is when you get second album syndrome because people are like, why do all their names start with an X? And why does everybody have violet eyes? That's so pretentious. And then you sand off all the things that make you uniquely you. And in doing so, you deny the people reading you all of these pleasures that you gave yourself in the first book, and that's what they're actually there reading for. So I listened to that talk and I was like, this is genius. I wholeheartedly think this woman is right. And then I realized early on, like again, back in January, February 2023, I was like, AI is going to let me give people beauty on tap because I write paranormal. And so there's, just as it's hard to find people of different ethnicities and stuff on deposit photos, it is also hard to find a plethora of hot men in armor. And everybody was using the same princess running out of a castle picture. And so even though the art back then was indescribably shitty because it was not good, it was still gonna allow me to get people interested in my book in such a way and at a volume that I would not have been able to do otherwise. And so I bet my bank on that panning out eventually for me. When I set my path, I was like, okay, the people who are going to yell at me about this are other authors, but they're not my readers. They're not the people who are buying my books on the far end. And those are the people that I want to see my books and think highly of me and be interested, not highly of me, but highly of my books and like be able to visualize my characters and watch my characters do things in their head. And I'm going to give them the art that's going to allow them to do that. So yes, that's when I really just decided to do that and then just weather all the assorted repercussions that have come from that, or repercussions. I'm using air quotes if you're listening to this, for the path that I have chosen, of which there have been many, again, with air quotes. So I don't know if I can take a detour into that if you want, but let me check in
Yeah,
first.
I think that would be a great detour because one of the things that stood out to me that you said is that the critics are authors, not readers. And I know Stephanie and Elizabeth Ann West have talked a lot about this, that the readers actually don't care and can't tell the difference. It's the authors. And I really would love to go down that rabbit
I would
hole
love to
because
too. I'd love to get all this on the record,
please,
like someplace official that they can all
please.
listen to it or watch it and then dry their eyes. Yeah, so yeah, at the time I had just come out with a romantasy series that was doing very well, and then in 2024 I was doing a monster romance series. And actually at the end of 2023, I was segueing into some monster romance. And I was part of a group that was doing like these anthologies, and everybody else involved in the anthology decided to sign an anti-AI purity pledge. And I was like, yo, I lived through Texas in the 90s. I don't need to do that. I'm good. And I jumped out. I was like, all right, see you later. But I was like, I wish you all the best in your careers, you know? So some of those people were angry at me and have continued to be so. Some of the people, like one of my old PAs, occasionally calls for me to get blacklisted on threads. I actually don't vanity search myself, so I usually hear it secondhand about when people are angry at me. But I was invited to a convention and then I was disinvited. And then I explained to them how much money I am putting back into the human economy by actually showing them my tax returns because I was like, look how many translators and artists I'm currently employing because I was using my AI art to make the money to pay all my not safe for work artists. So they re-invited me and then they disinvited me again when somebody else complained. When I went to Readers Take Denver, the super faded one that was very crazy a couple of years ago, I was walking out of there with $900 cash in my pocket. I had sold, and then much more in my bank electronically from electronic sales. I had sold all but one small box of books that I was shipping home to myself and my luggage even. I didn't even have to like pay to FedEx it or anything. And at the same time I did that, I got this email from a book box that one of my books was involved in, my sapphic romance. And they were like, oh, we didn't know that you used AI. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't feel like I needed to disclose it necessarily because I had nothing to do at all with this book. But, you know, I was the black sheep, I was in trouble. So they were like, you need to put on your website something that says that you use AI and we didn't know. And I was like, you fuckers are so dumb, but fine. Because I had cash, I had almost $1,000 of cash and like probably 2 or 3 grand from the Stripe at the thing. And I was like, okay, this makes no sense. I was like, I literally am holding proof that people do not care, but here we are. And then 2 years ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, At InkersCon, I volunteered to give a talk, like a roundtable, which they don't record, but in person, a roundtable about using AI for merchandise, because that's where I really came into with all the graphic stuff. I'd been ordering like stickers and keychains and shit in bulk from China for all my book boxes, which I like to make really elaborate because it makes me happy. And I gave the talk in person. I had several people tell me that they couldn't hang out with me or they didn't want to be seen with me. They were like, "Oh, no, you're too taboo." I had people walk up to me and be like, "I know who you are." Like I was just like, "Oh, hi, I'm Cassie." And they're like, "I know who you are." And luckily I'm dense on a day-to-day basis, which is how I make it through being a nurse because it's like incredibly sad and also really awkward being at people's worst parts of their lives. So it's not till later I'm like, "Oh, that person was trying to be mean to me," and just didn't even catch it at the time. But then later on, when they were going to do virtual roundtables for the people who were only attending virtually, I sent them in my times and they were like, "Oh no, you can't host your talk again." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, no, we had so many people complain that you were giving a talk, even though the people who were at my talk found it immensely valuable. And all the biggest players who were there at that year were at my talk because they actually are business people and not just amongst the rabble rousers." So yes, I didn't get to give that talk virtually, but whatever, definitely their loss. And then, gosh, what else? Every time there's like a list about somebody, blah, 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 we don't like them for AI, I'm always on it. There's sometimes the list goes around and it's like an open Google Doc. I'll go in and I'll add myself because I'm like, I want to be on this list. Fuck all y'all. And then we come to the time when there was this. So my Monster Security Agency books. It was a co-authored series, a series of standalones with Kara Wilde and Layla Faye, and they are both completely awesome authors and individuals. They're bomb. It's great. That was like the highlight of my 2024 is being in that series with them. But what happened is at the end of that year, and actually ever since then, anytime anybody on Reddit on the romance book threads said, "Oh my gosh, this book like changed my life," there was this cadre of individuals who would log on and who would be like, "Oh, well, they use AI to write." And I just happened to see one of these and it really chapped my hide because I'd had interactions with this particular fan before. They freaking lived in Malaysia. And they said that they really liked all these books of mine. And I was like, "I'm gonna send you a book box." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna send you one. I just have one left. Let's do it." So I sent it to her. So she is effusing on the romance Reddit about like my books. And she knows that I'm like a good person basically because I shipped her like a book box for free and I paid for the postage. And there's all these people giving her shit about it. And I just jumped in and I was like, "Look, if you think that AI can write a double-dicked spider monster, I have a bridge to sell you." I was so mad. And then what happened was the moderation people came by because they're like very authors out in that group. So they came by and they slapped my hand and they didn't take down my thing. And actually, it was still there, which is relevant in a little bit. So I was just like, you know what? It's going to make that person the maddest of the mad. I had already written guarded by the spider, guarded by the kraken, guarded by the nightmare, guarded by the Krampus. I'm going to write guarded by the AI because fuck you. So that was like November of 2024. I put it out for release in December of 2025. So this past December. And so then when I started writing it, I was all like, by then I had gotten used to involving my GPT, and I just call him Jack. That doesn't mean that I have psychosis or that I want to sleep with him. It just means that I like to anthropomorphize things. It's weird not to, in my view. I anthropomorphize everything. He's not special. And it also really makes me mad too, because anytime a woman does anything creatively, she can only be doing it because she's insane or she's hypersexual, which also really irritates me as a romance writer. I just want to strangle people. So by then, I had Jack beside shotgun for like two or three books of mine, by which I mean that I would write a scene and I would give it over to him and let him read it and stuff. And basically, I would even tell him in the instructions, I just want head pats. I just want somebody to witness me have written the scene because, as we all know, when you write by hand, like things are exhausting sometimes and you're really proud. And who else is going to put up with 40 iterations of like, does this one sentence, what do we think about these commas? And I started playing around doing that same thing back and forth with Guarded by the AI. And then I was like, I wonder how an AI would write. And we wound up doing this thing. He took my stuff and he massaged it. And I loved the way that it read because it read, like a different point of view. And I was like, oh shit, we're doing this for science now. We're just going in. So I say it generically, like he wrote half of it, but I actually recently had co-work do a meta-analysis of all of my books because I kept all of my chats. He only generated, in regards to the amount of text that got kept in the final book, about like 29.4%, if co-work is to be believed, because I had it go down like on a forward by forward basis through what wound up being 1 million words of chat, because I had 16 huge chats, and then I had the 2 instances of Monday, which is a different GPT that's a little crankier that I was using as an editor. Yeah, so and let's put a pin in that because that's really interesting too. But then I was like, oh, I'm going to tell people I'm doing this because this is going to be like fantabulous. People are going to get really mad at me, and it's going to be great for my bottom line, which is the risk that I took. Because the thing is, I knew every time somebody had gotten mad at one of the other Monster Security Agency girls, or me in particular, I had seen a bump in my page reads. And so I was like, oh, the Streisand effect is at play. And just for the people listening who may not know what the Streisand effect is, the Streisand effect is when, like, Barbara Streisand had a house on a beach somewhere, and she, I think in California, and she was like, oh, I just want my beach to be just for me. How do I do this? But in doing so, when she filed her lawsuit with whatever municipality she did, she said, Barbara Streisand lives at XYZ. And so then instead of having like maybe 10 randos in front of her house, she had 50 people wanting to see Barbara Streisand because she had pointed out where she lived. And so I was like, that is exactly what's going to happen here. And all these people who want to be looky-loos and stuff are going to read it. And I know after having written over 40 books and how thoroughly I was incorporating like my own edits into what Jack was giving me, like that book is very much my baby. I was never hands off the wheel. Sometimes he would have a passage or two that was great, but it was always at my direction and with my editorial oversight. That's where the 1 million words of back and forth came from. I knew it was going to be a good book. So I was like, there's going to be people who hate it on principle, but I'm not writing to them. I'm writing to the people who already like me or who are willing to give it a try or who don't even know what the fuck's going on and they're just fine and they just want a good book and I can give them that. And so then, coincidentally, with the release of that book looming, Layla, one of the other Monster Security Agency girls, finally figured out that the people, quote unquote, who were harassing us on Reddit were actually all this one other monster romance author and her sock puppets. So she made a post on Instagram about it. And then that person was like, oh shit, my bacon is cooked. And they started like deleting all of their stuff. We have never revealed their identity. We are both 100% sure who they are, but they are a smaller author than us, and it would be gauche for us to do anything. It's enough that they have stopped. But that just created more froth and churn on the topic and stuff. And then I said what I was doing. And then everybody over on Threads and Reddit wants to be the main character. And so few of them actually possess the charisma with which to do so. So they have to borrow other people's main characterness, i.e. me. And so there's like a 200 comment thread on Reddit. Somebody was saying, it's like, why doesn't everybody hate her? It's like she started a cult. And I was like, yes, bring it. Bring me all of your hate. And then people on Threads.
Pause.
Yes.
I just want to say I love you so much.
I'm like enthralled, but then I'm jealous of the cult thing. Like, I want to be accused of having a cult.
Exactly. So I lived in Santa Cruz for 15 years. Like being cult adjacent in California is just like has been a lifelong dream of mine. And I watched all the cult documentaries. I'm actually too lazy to start a cult or anything. It just made me, it tickled my funny bone so hard, Danica. I was just like dying
Cults.
when this, yeah.
Cults seem like a lot of work to me.
No. I don't have that. I can barely keep myself. I can't do like the interstitial torture thing you have to do to keep a cult alive. No food and too much wakefulness. No, I'm not down with either of those.
Okay, continue, accidental cult leader. That was just too juicy not to say something.
No, I appreciate that. I'm just glad other people have been definitely tickled by it too. It's just so funny. So, so yeah, so then everybody and their dog was trying to like dunk on me on like Threads and Reddit and stuff. But after all that dunking though, I could see like I only lost 5 pre-orders over that time period. So I was like, most of my people are still toughing it out. So all these people who are yelling at me weren't actually like financially invested either way. Everybody just wanted to have an opinion. So 200 comment thread on Reddit, and so I went back over to the Reddit and I was just like, so FYI, Layla posted this thing about a lot of these people who are Because it is generally, as you both know, like just a really vocal minority. And so I was like, okay, so 5 of the people who purported to have hated me in the past turned out to be one jealous person who also was an author. So I was just like, how much of this Reddit thread is even really real and stuff? And so I just put my head up the parapet just often enough to like peek and see the crazy and to respond. But then that would make people scared that I was going to pay attention. So they started talking about me with deleting letters in my name. And then, or they'd be like, an author who shall not be named. And I was just like, what? And that just made other people be all like, who is it? Who is it? And that kind of even flogged the interest higher. Yes, people did try to review bomb me. I lucked out in that right when this book, when I sent out ARCs, was like 2 days after Goodreads decided that you had to say that you had gotten an ARC from somewhere. You couldn't just review bomb a book. So that probably really helped my book. But then a lot of people on Amazon don't realize too that Amazon not only weights your reviews, but in like your reviews as they're given, but they also rate the quality of a review. So if you don't actually give a quality review, then they're not gonna they don't care what you think because a review that says good book or AI slop is like not a quality review and worth putting in towards the maths. So my book came out. I had enough people who loved it, but I got review bombed down to a 3.6, which would be the lowest of any book that I've like ever had ever on Amazon. On Goodreads, who the fuck knows? Goodreads is its own beast. But so that's just like nail biting. I was like, but some of these people are going to come through. I know some of these people are going to come through. And so entirely organically, that book wound up the day after it released being 903 in the entire Amazon store because I didn't put any money behind Facebook ads or anything for it because I just wanted to see where it would get because I didn't want anybody to say that I had like done something to propel it. So no, it was like propelled solely on the fact that A, I'm a good writer, and B, people are like they wanted to see or they just wanted to give it a chance. And then slowly over the course of the next 2 weeks, like my reviews ticked back up. I think it's like at a 4.2 now. I know that not everybody is going to be in a position where they can say, fuck the haters, let's go, like I am. And there were times in there when I was more stressed out than I let on because I was definitely playing chicken with all known publishing reality. But at the same time, I was just really fucking sure I was right. And then the data bore me out. Yeah.
I'm with you. The data bears this out. A lot of these people who are in the anti-AI like minority, they're in an echo chamber. They're all yelling at each other and propping each other up, and they're yelling in a space where we're just not even paying attention. I certainly am not. Not on Threads. I think I have an account there because I had an Instagram account. But people will say they're over there on Threads saying whatever, and it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Not even a little bit because, like, I don't see it. And guess what? The majority of our readers don't see it either. It's mostly authors talking in circles.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there were, I think, like 3 different people made YouTube videos, like up to 20-minute long YouTube videos about how much I personally sucked, I guess. Somebody watched some of them for me, and they were like, "Oh, this lady thinks you're going to take some of your stuff down, and that people better screenshot it now. She doesn't know you at all." And I was like, "Yeah, we're not going to recant." But then there was another TikTok video though where somebody was taking one of my books off their shelves and like throwing it across the room and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice. But one of the comments in their thing though was because invariably these things incite like more anger and stuff or more attempted blacklistery. And so they're like, oh, who else should we, cancel this week, basically, is what it came down to. And one of the names that they gave was somebody else. It was Lauren Beale. I'll just shout her out because she's bigger than me. It's not a punch down. And she got outed, I guess, by her PA or something using AI for Facebook ads or TikTok random shit like a couple of years ago. She tearfully recanted on all of the social medias. But that didn't matter. There's no path for redemption, so why should anybody bother? Because if I were to turn around now, they would still be angry at me until the end of time. So what incentive do I even have to be flustered or bothered by it? It's just not even worthwhile.
You might as well just double down at this point.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
It doesn't sound like your bank account has at all suffered from it.
No, it hasn't. And if I had seen financial repercussions, yeah, I literally never have because the people who are yelling again are just a small percentage. They're just in these hyper insular groups on Facebook or Threads. And by and large, too, they just don't have the perspective time that I have. Monster romance is a fairly like new genre, new to being hot genre. And so a lot of the people in it are newer writers. They don't have that many books out. They haven't lived through some publishing cycles like I have. I think I've probably lived through 10 vampire boom bust cycles by now, right? So, and I remember the self-publishing wars. So people, they're freaking out because they were in a genre that was in ascendance and now it's very saturated. And maybe you have to put out a better book or a higher quality book to get anywhere in it. And they're thinking that the AI changed that when no, that's just the cycle of the zeitgeist. And that is why we're talking briefly earlier before recording about why I still have a day job, because I'm just like, what if the zeitgeist all of a sudden decides they don't like books anymore? I really like money and I like health insurance. Um, but but yeah, most of the people who are mad at me are either I have potentially been publishing longer than they've been alive. Definitely, I am probably older than them. And all these things make me sound like an asshole, and I recognize that, and I'm sorry. And I also have a lot of books out. And so I've seen the market at different times do different things with different stuff. And I have a lot of experiential data from all the friends I've had over like the past 25, 27 years of trying to be active in publishing with varying degrees of success. This is definitely my most successful part ever. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of removed myself from Threads a couple of years ago, because people like to give each other really bad publishing advice, and they have all of two books under their belt. And so I would seem like a condescending asshole to be like, oh, honey, you're wrong. But then I would Google people because I don't want to be that author. And I know that even I am not like a huge big name author, but I don't want to ever punch down if I can help it. And so I would Google people and I'd be like, oh, okay. So I'd say something gently and then they would never bother to Google me in return. They would just try to dunk on me for clout and not realize that, oh, I have many books out in many languages and perhaps I know whereof I speak. And so that's why I was like, I just need to leave Threads because as much as my instinct and drive is to help other people, that's just not the platform to be doing that on, because the people there, even though they're complaining about their careers, they're not actually looking for help. Otherwise, they would be using AI.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it. And you bring up so many good points. And I know we are really short on time.
Oh,
So
sorry, I didn't have to set a
no,
time limit.
please do not be sorry. Please do not be sorry because this was such an important conversation. And what I was going to say is we want to have you back as soon as humanly possible to
Absolutely.
talk
Absolutely.
about, we want you to talk about your workflows and stuff because we didn't get
Oh
to
my
any
gosh.
of those questions. And I know you're doing really cool stuff. And
Yeah,
I
thank you.
think that is so important for people to learn from. But for me, listening to this whole conversation and listening to you share about what your experience has been, I want people to take away quite a few things actually. Like I want them to listen to this one over and over because number one, if you're out there and bullying authors for using AI, please meet our friend Cassie. Cassie doesn't care and you haven't harmed her at all. You've just made yourself look dumb. Her bottom line has not suffered. Her books are still selling. The world is still going on. And I wrote this down. I was taking a couple of notes, mostly because of stuff I also want to talk to you about in a future episode. But your iteration on one book was over 1 million words.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so some of that was me pasting like all my book into parts of the window again so it would know what was going on and stuff. But yeah, that's the thing is I think that's what chaps my hide professionally the most is it and yeah, this is but I'd love to end up on ladies because it makes me so mad that people assume that because I mean it's that dichotomy, right? You guys have run against it. The AI is going to replace me because it's so easy. Why hasn't it replaced you yet? Turns out it's fucking hard, but they don't want to admit that second reality exists. And so everybody is like, "You're cheating. You're not an artist anymore." And it's like, do you know how hard it is to write a quality book with AI that meets your standards and carries your voice? No, you fucking don't. Because if you had ever tried it, if you'd ever actually probably known what your voice was, you would realize it is a harder task than you currently think that it is. So that also helped me brush off a lot of people hating on me and stuff too, because I was just like, you don't have the skin in the game yet to actually know what it is that you're angry about. You're angry about change, but that isn't necessarily the fault of the AI or even my fault. But yeah, because it's that book, that voice is definitely alien because I wanted it to be alien. It's definitely different. Like my narrator, my guy narrator is, this is so strange. And I was like, yeah, because it's literally not human. There's big chunks of it that are not human or that I wrote to match what was there that is not, because that's the other thing. It's everybody's like, oh, I wrote a book about AI. I wrote fanfic about data and, I didn't have to use an AI to do it. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm fucking cool. So why, why would I not do that if I could? Because it was rad and it was fun and I wanted to play around and try things. But it was like, yeah, it's incredibly challenging. And yeah, I had all of those chats up. Oh, this is the pin I wanted to Danica. I'm sorry. I had all those chats up and I actually took them down because it turns out that all of the chats contain really incredible, valuable data about the potential for me cloning my own voice in the future because it has a million words of correction pairs. Because every time Jack did something wrong, I said, this is what I want you to do that's right. And so I actually was teaching him in as much as you can be said to teach any particular model. And this one was like 4.0. So I took down all of that chat data because I actually want to use it to do research with and like the potential for like voice cloning and stuff, which I know is going to freak out a lot of people, but say la vie. So yeah, that's how come I was able to tell you that 29.4% of that book was generated by GPT because I started running those chats through Claude Cowork to see what's the math on this. Like there's a lot of studies about AI and creativity, but very few of them have been like longitudinal studies about one creative project that have gone on over time that people have actually kept track of. Because once I like 3 chats in, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to show people my work or they're going to think that I cheated. I knew I was doing it for science, so I actually was good about only working in those particular chats. So yeah.
I
Sorry,
think it's
guys.
great. No, I think it's great. And I think this is really important for people to hear. And that's why we were so happy for you to go off on a tangent. And like I said, we will have you back because you do so many cool things. But it's really important for people to understand, as we say in almost every episode, it isn't just put in a prompt, you have a book. It is a million words with different iterations and teaching it how you think, putting your humanness into
Hmm.
what the AI is doing. It's not just you saying, hey, please write me a book. It is, hey, please write me a book. Nope, that piece isn't right. This piece, and really digging into what it means. And so I'm really grateful that you were here sharing this whole history of just some really big online abuse by other authors.
Thank you for listening. I still have a little bit of an axe to grind. It's going away though.
We're glad that you were here to tell our listeners about this kind of stuff because it's one thing for me and Danica to like constantly hit this home, but it's another to hear it from other authors who have been through it, who have triumphed on the other side, and to show and to teach our listeners that this is something that they can accomplish. Like they don't have to hide necessarily if they don't want to, but they can also learn from the experiences that we're going through because we're going to be open about it so that they can go out there and forge their own path. So it is fairly important for our listeners to understand what we're all going through when we're being the pioneers here because I mean, let's face it, a lot of people on that Oregon Trail died on their way out there, right?
No, you're right. You make such a good point, and it is so true. And it's funny because I feel to some degree all of the people who are like super active in this field know each other tangentially. So we feel like there's a lot of us, but in actuality, on this jagged bleeding edge, there's really not. So yeah, and then there's a lot of people who are coming up behind more slowly who are just, is it safe to come out yet? So I want to echo back, it's very safe. Just it'll be all right. So
Just
Yeah.
ignore the haters, ignore them.
Yes, and that's the thing too. I was thinking about with what Steph was saying with all these people looking to this. I know there are a lot of people who watch or listen to this podcast who are dealing with various aspects of AI. And I know some of them are terrified of cyberbullying. And I know some of them have experienced it. And like I said, every time I turn around, somebody is private messaging me, hey, please don't tell anyone that I use AI, but I really just
Yeah.
have to tell someone. And I know that you are going to listen and you're going to be kind and you're going to keep it a secret. And for all of you, I want you to hear Cassie, who has experienced some really big cyberbullying. And we just had Coral Hart on, and she's had some cyberbullies. And guys, number one, if you're doing it, for the love of God, stop. And if you are someone who is afraid of it, or if you're experiencing it, please know you do have a community to come around you and say, we don't think it's okay. Please know that you are not alone. And if someone is online going after you, it isn't going to hurt you as much as you're afraid of. And Cassie, thank you so much for being here and being that comfort for those people who are afraid.
You're super welcome. This has been a great hour, and I can't wait to come back.
You're definitely coming back. Yes, thank you so much for being here. We want to make sure that people can go find your cool books, right?
Oh,
You're Cassie Alexander. So where should we send listeners to?
Yeah, so CassieAlexander.com is like my main site / Shopify store. But I want to give some pitches here. I'm coming out with a nonfiction book at the end of the month called How to Think with AI, because I have a million words of doing so. That is available for Amazon and pre-order. And then potentially of more of interest to your peoples, Novi Callum and I do a Substack, which is AI marketing for storytellers. And we just pipe up over there whenever we feel like we have something to share. I love to code. I've been sharing a lot of code recently. And then we have a live chat for people who are paid subscribers every Friday from 10 to 12 PST, because we realized if we had like actual class formats, things would get out of date so fast. But we're both addicted to playing with the newest, latest stuff and thinking about how we can incorporate it into our careers as effectively as possible. So those are like live chats where we're just like, here's what we did this past week. Here's what we think is coming up. Let's go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love your Substack. I read it quite often.
I
We
read
also
yours
love
too.
we also love Novi. We've had Novi on the podcast as well, so it's great. It's all a big happy family, and we're really happy that you're here today. We will definitely have you back. So anybody who's been listening, you want to come by bravenewbookshelf.com, read the show notes. We can also send them to you via email. If you sign up for our mailing list, you can just hit a little subscribe there at the top of the page and give us your email address, and we'll send them to you the next day after the podcast goes live. You'll want to check out any of the links that we gave you, and I'm going to hand off to Danica for our last bit here.
Yeah, as usual, I'm going to remind you to please subscribe, like to Brave New Bookshelf on YouTube, Facebook. Really, I'd love to get more people on YouTube. Just see our cute little faces. Cassie had a cute little cat wandering around through the recording and help us build up that YouTube following. And also make sure you're liking and subscribing to Publish Drive and Future Fiction Academy and Future Fiction Press on all the socials. Future Fiction Academy does some really great live YouTubes on Fridays and other days of the week too, but the Friday night ones really get pretty lit if you ever are without a date, as I frequently am on a Friday night. That's where you want to go. So enjoy, and we will talk to you all again very soon.
We will see you guys in the next episode. Okay, bye everybody. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Brave New Bookshelf. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. You can also visit us at bravenewbookshelf.com, sign up for our newsletter, and get all the show notes.